See, Wilkie, you've talked about how when we do the sync, it makes you think of like the thing from, what's it? Pacific Rim.
When you get drift compatible.
I don't know if we've actually put it on an episode yet, but we normally do a countdown from 5 in time with each other. And then at the end, we say sync. I always want to say Thunderbirds are go at the end of it.
What was your favourite Thunderbird?
I always like number 4. My mum baked me a Thunderbird 4 cake for my 4th birthday.
What?
I know, she made it, she painted it, well, she didn't paint it, but she decorated it in yellow frosting, that's the word, and it was really, really cool. It looked like Thunderbird 4.
Was there a bigger Thunderbird 2 cake that you were like, oh wow, massive cake, and then Thunderbird 2 cake lifts up and you've actually got a fairly normal sized Thunderbird 4 cake, and then the Thunderbird 2 cake flies away and you're like, oh no, my big cake.
I had that when I was 2, Wilkie. So 2 years prior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thunderbirds are go. And that's as much as we're allowed to sing because it's probably copyrighted.
Oh, well, why don't we go into our own theme song?
For Boy Review? We can compose our own theme at some point, yeah.
I was just going to put the Boy Review.
Yeah.
Bloop.
I'm not dying. Get out of here.
To the show we like to do here at the weekends, or as you call it, Wednesday. It's of course Boy Review, hosted by me, Hamish.
And me, Wilkie.
That's right. Your 2 favourite boy hosts are here to bring you lots of love and joy.
Boy.
Now, Wilkie, though, I know this isn't a prime number week, it's 8. So that means it's divisible by 2 and 4.
And 8. And 1.
And 8. So that's more than just 1 in itself, so it's not a prime number. But we do have a little bit of feedback. Apparently last week, we were a bit giddy. We were a bit sweary. My mum really appreciated getting a good shout out, but she said we swore way too much for her liking. So we're gonna have to just apparently tone it down a little bit.
This week,
make it a little bit more PG.
This week we're doing PG-13 Boy Review.
So we are allowed to say 1 fuck.
And we just used it.
And there it was right there. Yeah, that's right.
There we go.
So, no more. And this week, maybe we'll introduce a swear jar. So every time one of us swears, we'll get a point. Whoever has the least number of points at the end wins. Now, will we remember these points? No, I don't have any paper and there's none within reach. But we're going to try and remember them.
We're going to try. Oh, crikey. I think I go first this week, Hambo.
You do get to go first this week. It's an even week. And what are you going to be talking about today, Wilkie?
I'm very excited to be going first this week, Hamish. There's something very important that I think all of our listeners should know about. If you have, at any point, a spare 3 hours or so, which I'm sure you do, in lockdown, we don't have as much chance to go out of an evening or of a weekend, so you've probably got 3 hours to spare. Might I recommend that you watch a little series called Through the Dragon's Eye.
But Wilkie, what is this series Through the Dragon's Eye? I've never heard of it.
Well, now you may be thinking, oh, is it the next Game of Thrones? Everyone was so disappointed with Game of Thrones when it ended, and they wanted it to be rebooted. And to them, I say yes, this is Game of Thrones, but better.
Game of Thrones dose.
Game of Thrones 2. This time, there's more thrones. We've doubled the number of thrones, but also we've doubled the number of people who want the throne. So now it's just the same again. Through the Dragon's Eye is an educational TV series from 1989. It's very old.
That's before you and I were born.
Yeah, it's 10 years older than me.
Wow. Only 9 years older than me.
Yeah, Hambo's an old boy.
No.
But yes, produced by BBC Look and Read, which was the BBC's sort of educational department back then. The plot follows three school children who are transported to a magical land, much like Digimon, I think, was the frame.
Yes.
I believe the genre is called an isekai.
In Digimon, they do get transported to some weird foreign land. Though, I've also watched this show with you, Wilkie, and I've got to say, in many ways, this is better than Digimon. In many ways, it's not quite as good. But, there is a lot of parallels. They go to this mystical land and they start meeting weird creatures and monsters with strange powers and abilities.
They do.
The first of which...
I'm getting there. So, these three children, Jenny, Amanda, and Scott. Now, Hamish, when we watched this, you commented on how surprising it was that out of the three children, there were not only two girls, but one of the girls, I'm trying to remember, Amanda, was actually a person of colour, which was wonderful to see in sort of what we think quite an old, outdated piece of media. We've got a person of colour in there being smart. These three...
Yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes you expect, like we were talking about Thunderbirds, sometimes you go back and look at something and go, this doesn't really hold up or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, cool. It's pretty awesome that there was at least some semblance of having a diverse cast for their three main kids, because obviously it's a CBBC or CBBS or CBBC. I don't remember, like a kids show. So it's cool to see. It's cool to see that.
And these three kids, Jenny, Amanda, and Scott, are at their school in Acton, and they're painting a mural.
Oh wow!
And the mural features prominently a green-scaled dragon. I believe Jenny gets up and finishes painting the dragon's eye, which then promptly winks at the three kids and invites them to enter the mural. It's with some surprisingly good CGI as the shot of the mural changes to the dragon costume.
Though it was actually quite good transition. Honestly, better than some of the modern Doctor Who CGI that you've seen. This was actually quite good.
I didn't notice it happening. It was very creepy when suddenly like its arm moved. I was like, wait, it's a person in a costume now?
Though I was want to talk about when they enter this mural, they don't sort of enter the waterfall, or it doesn't part for them and make it an obvious entryway. They just somehow slot into the 2D space and then go behind the waterfall.
Well, no, there's a pathway, Hambo. There's a pathway that goes behind the waterfall.
It just looks like they've just gone, this is where it goes.
It's falling over an overhang.
Yeah, well, it was confusing. If this weird dragon had told to me, come enter, I wouldn't have had a clue. I'd have got very wet because I would have gone into the waterfall.
Yeah. The dragon, once they enter, introduces itself as Gorwen and introduces this world as Pelamar, which is honestly, it's not the cringiest fantasy name I've ever come up with. The cringiest fantasy name, I can't think of an example, but there's cringier stuff out there. It's doing pretty well so far.
It starts off really well though, and then very quickly gets bogged down in a lot of fantasy and some sci-fi mumbo jumbo. It feels like it's a quite Star Trek heavy, sort of borrowing some of those ideas. And I simultaneously love it and also got very confused by it when we watched it together.
Yeah, it's kind of, because of course this is made to be an educational show. So straight away, essentially I'll skim over the rest of the plot, at least the rest of the setup of the plot. I don't want to spoil it because I genuinely am encouraging people to watch this. So I'm going to not spoil anything beyond the first episode.
And I think it's also worth watching as much of this as you can blind, because it is mind-boggling. It is weird. You will question every creative decision that's been made, but it's still very good. And it's the less you know, the better. Absolutely.
So Gorwen explains that the object that gives the land of Pelamar its life force, an object called the Vita Core. Now you might think Vita Core is spelled V-I-T-A, like the Latin word for life, but no, it's V-E-E-T-A. No idea why. Perhaps that's just slightly easier for kids to spell, like the E-E making an E noise is something you get taught about. Who knows?
Isn't there a brand called Veet? Maybe it was a tie-in with them.
I don't think it was a brand tie-in with foot fungal repair products.
You know,
It
fungal,
could be.
that
It could
brings your feet back to life like the Vitacore. Maybe it is, Wilkie, and we just both missed it.
The Vitacore has sadly recently exploded, spreading its Vitons across Palomar, or at least scattering 3 of them. The 22 others are fine. Just 3 of them seem to have gone missing. That's pretty much all I'm going to say. There are some people in the story called Palamots, but we're not going to really discuss much about them.
Because they're weird, and you'll find that pretty much anything can be a Palamot, apparently.
Yeah.
Yes, anything on this land is a Palamot.
Yeah. The focus of especially shows by Look and Read is encouraging kids to read. This would be a show that would come on probably in I think in the morning. It doesn't actually say when, like what time of day it'd be on. But yeah, this is 20-minute episodes, probably in the mornings or maybe the evenings after school. And it would sort of every episode has an element of reading to it. There are word-based puzzles that the kids have to solve, and often they will recap their recent adventures in the form of a diary that they keep. Weirdly, a diary that they all write in the same handwriting.
Yeah, I mean, these kids have obviously been very well taught by their school to all write in exactly the same way.
Exactly the same, incredibly legible handwriting. And these shots
So not joined up. They weren't doing curly writing. They were doing broken down writing. And I've got to say, I'd quite like that. I personally do write each individual letter.
Yeah, me
but just
too.
with different spacing. But when I was back at school, if I was them and I'd written like that, wouldn't have got away with it. It had to be curly writing or die. We had a lot of kids die at school because they didn't join their writing. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have talked about that. We also had to sign a waiver to say we'd never talk about the kids that died at school, but I'm speaking out about it now, Wilkie.
You're so brave, Hamish. I'm so proud of you.
So if I don't quite finish this episode, if my old primary school have come to get me, then it's been nice doing this podcast with you.
So yeah, it's quite fun watching this as an older person, because of course reading, well, speaking at least for myself, reading doesn't pose much of an issue for me. Hamish,
reading doesn't pose much of an issue for me. I sometimes make a bit of a joke, but actually I have a different kind of dyslexia. Words often do me fine. It's more spelling that I struggle with if I don't quite know a word.
That's fair. So yeah, it's quite funny to just sort of sit there while we linger on these like 5 short sentences for about 20 seconds, just sitting there like, yeah, I got those about 3 seconds in. We're just going to sit here now.
It's given everyone a chance to read.
Yeah. And it's honestly, you'll get about 4 episodes in and you'll want to stop because it's silly. Maybe episode 3 will convince you to stay, but who knows? We're not going to say what happens in episode 3. It's very good. Oh, okay. Here we go. If you watch Through the Dragon's Eye and you get to episode 3 and you get to the I think it's fair to say once you get to the song in episode 3, tweet us with #BoiReview and then the word that is key to that song.
Uh-huh.
And
we'll give you a shout out on the show next week.
Yeah. So yeah, there are songs in every episode. They are a delight. And that's mainly what I want to get at. The show is delightful. It flags a bit at the start because you're like, oh, this is kind of not really made for me. But if you get into it, the story is surprisingly compelling. The characters have character arcs. Like, okay. It's very satisfying to finish the story and see see Jenny and Amanda and Scott complete their quest. It's wonderful. It's funny because like there are some things that you want to watch and laugh at because they're stupid, because they're silly and because they're outdated and because they're not made for you. But with this, there is that element. There's like, oh, this is made for children. It's quite funny how, it gives us so long to read these sentences or whatever. But that's not all of it. There are bits that are genuinely sort of could pull on your heartstrings if they were if they were written for grown-ups.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that. It's sort of like this. There are seeds of this story that could, or I guess, are present in so many other fantasy tales. Though I also want to add to your recommendation. I agree, great one to watch, but definitely better with friends. So if you're living in a house with lots of other people, or you've got a room where you can safely get within 6 people socially distanced all inside, it's a good idea to watch it with other people.
Definitely.
Or maybe, if there are things on the internet which let you watch YouTube videos together with a video call. I don't quite know, but maybe one of those could also be really good. And if you do drink, and you want to drink, I'm sure a bit of alcohol would not hurt you in this situation. It seems like it would be perfect for that style of thing. And also, I don't feel like you need any nostalgia to enjoy this, because I'd never watched any of it, and it was still great. I also only watched 3 episodes of it. I think I watched episode 1, 3. Oh, we watched episode 1, 3, part of something like episode 8, and then episode 10, and I feel like I got most of the plot from that. So even if you want to give up partway through, just skip through a couple and you'll pick it up again.
Yeah, you absolutely... The plot does not progress much. The plot is very simple, but there's definitely something in every episode that you're going to want to be there to see. There are some very unique methods of getting kids to learn how to read. It's wonderful.
And also the songs are delightful, but they pick some weird things to go in on. You just
They absolutely do.
Why did they pick that to be a song? Sometimes you can tell. Like sometimes you can be like, oh, that is a thing that they're trying to teach. And other things you go, well, that is a thing they're trying to teach. Why? What is their goal? What is the goal of this? So, Wilkie, what would you want to give Through the Dragon's Eye? You've obviously recommended it to people, so I feel like that puts it towards the higher end of the scale. But what do you say?
I definitely think that there are things that could be improved upon, but they're not things I care about.
Exactly.
My experience of Through the Dragon's Eye was not limited by the fact that the effects are bad because they're from 1989. This is absolutely... I probably decided this as I was watching it. Through the Dragon's Eye is absolutely a good. It's some of the goodest content I've seen in recent months.
Exactly. I think Through the Dragon's Eye epitomizes what good not only is, but should be. It doesn't actually have to be perfect. Sure, it's 4 out of 4, but it doesn't mean it has to be spotless, spick or span. But it sparks good within you. It makes you feel good. It makes you happy. You don't know why. Maybe there are things that are awful, but it's still overall just jolly. And that's why it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, I've given you a few seconds. There is no bit coming. So I feel like I can get into my topic.
Go for it, Hambo. You're perfectly safe.
Phew. Okay, so my thing for this week is a bit out there. I want to do the X-Men. Now, I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to do the comic books or the classic TV series, but you were doing a TV show, so I thought I'd just talk about it generally, because the other day I went to Waterstones. I posted a picture of one of their bookshelves, because they had some nice books, and I'll just grab my thing. It's back here. I picked up a X-Men graphic novel called House of X / Powers of X. It looks really, really cool. And it's got some really cool art, some really cool covers. And because I've always really liked the X-Men, I think they're a really cool superhero group. And I really wanted to sort of read something more modern by them, because it's been a few years since I last picked up any of their adventures. And it's really fun to sort of see how this group have evolved, particularly sort of within the whole Marvel ecosystem. Because sure, the X-Men have had their troubles. They had a bunch of films that were a bit weird. You know, what happens to a frog? What happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? We'll never know, I guess. That was an odd line from that film.
Forever.
And there was, again, had some not so great CGI, though came out in the 2000s, so a bit less forgivable. But there are a lot of good messages in there. You know, it's a cool idea about what would you happen if you had a bunch of superheroes, but they're not liked by society. They're sort of outcast. There's a lot of prejudice against them. And it really explores lots of those different areas. It gives a reason to throw lots of superheroes and powers into a universe, into a world. And then also the X-Men just gets crazy with it. You know, they have everything you want. They have fights with giant robots. They have fights with aliens. It gets out there. And I think that is why X-Men is so great, because it deals with these great sort of philosophical arguments about in a superhero comic book. And it deals with sort of, you know, prejudice and people being looked down upon for being who they are, and all these pretty important political issues that should be discussed. And then they make it digestible because they have these people doing great things that are, you know, easy to see. They're not just living a normal life and being good and doing their thing in their own way. They're also saving the world from robots and aliens, and that's pretty awesome.
I think the X-Men are they're incredibly broadly applicable, because the story of X-Men is fundamentally a story about outcasts. You know, the sort of basic premise of most X-Men stories is that there is this mutant gene that causes these strange effects that mostly manifest as superpowers, but they can affect your appearance, or they can leave you looking perfectly, you know, normal human. But people with this mutant gene are shunned. People see them as dangerous. And in most periods of history, you know, upsettingly, there have been groups of people who were seen as outcasts. The comparison I see drawn most often is to sort of struggles of the LGBT community. You know, there is this part of yourself that you can't change because it wasn't a choice, you were born with it, and society hates you because of it, and maybe you don't even want it anymore because of all the hate you get. But you know, it's this part of you. But you know, X-Men was created at least in part by a Jewish man, and so there's definitely this sort of aspect, at least we see with Magneto, Charles Xavier. No, Magneto's not Charles Xavier.
Magneto is Eric something.
Eric. Yeah.
He's with a K? Yeah, I can't quite remember.
That's embarrassing, showing how little I actually watch X-Men, but I read a lot about them, sort of.
Yeah.
From
that's
like
okay,
people.
Everyone makes mistakes.
What's Magneto's name? Magneto's a
I think, yeah, he was a Jew during the Holocaust. I think his parents, or maybe just his mum, got killed as part of it.
Yeah, Eric Lenscher is the name. Yes.
Lenscher.
But yeah, the way that the X-Men is fundamentally a story about prejudice is very interesting, when sort of lots of superhero media is kind of escapist, and it's like, oh, we just want to look at cool people with superpowers doing stuff. But, you know, from the get-go, the X-Men has been a story that deals with sort of societal issues and prejudice, yeah, and that's what makes it so broadly applicable to any time period, because, you know, you can still make X-Men movies and X-Men comics today, and you can be,
But they have
you know,
something to say.
Yeah, you can be drawing on some kind of cultural touchstone.
Yeah, and the other stuff I want to get into, because obviously there was a lot of serious talk there, and it's really, really important that stuff is celebrated. But there are also a lot of wacky things to do with the X-Men that I think also deserve as much of a shout out in some way. So firstly, the classic cartoon had a banging theme song. If you've not heard it, we'll put it out on our Instagram this week. It's really, really good. Watch it on YouTube. It's worth it. And the whole cartoon's on Disney Plus, so get Disney Plus just to watch it, because it's got some of that sort of, it's a bit older, so it feels like it's kind of for an older audience slightly, and it's a good cartoon. You can enjoy it even if you're not a kid anymore. The only thing that's weird is they do say there's a character called Morph in it, and they say his name in a bit of a weird way. It's like, Morph. And Morph also is just a weird name to keep hearing. And some not great stuff happens to Morph, and it's really it's really odd in the first couple of episodes.
Poor Morph.
It's just when it's like Morph will be remembered, and it's just I feel like they're trying to go for some gut-wrenching sort of tear-jerking moments, and it just doesn't encapsulate it when you just keep saying Morph.
Morph.
It's a fun one. And then, what was the other weird thing about X-Men? We mentioned the films were a bit goofy.
I found here, Hambo, this sort of segment adjacent. I found here a list of wacky X-Man characters.
Oh yeah, okay. They have like golden balls was one. He could just make gold balls appear around him. And yeah, so let's go through some of these. Let's look, because they have some really awesome ones, and they get really in depth. Like they talk about Omega 11 mutants. They're these people that can do these amazing stuff, and they get really deep into it. Like Iceman is a classic X-Man, and you might think, oh, he just makes things cold, but you know the writers over time realize, well, actually, like he has a lot of immense power. I think as his power progresses, he starts to be aware of like all water molecules around him. So he's basically omniscient when he gets super powerful. He can like make things as cold as he wants. So that's also pretty powerful. So he's like one of the, even though he seems like this kind of boring guy that, oh, what, you have ice powers? he's like Omega level. He's one of the most powerful on the planet. Up there with like Jean Grey, who can lift things with her mind.
Yeah.
So what are some wacky X-Men?
Okay, we have here Dirt Nap. This character's name is Dirt Nap.
Okay. Is this me trying to guess what Dirt Nap can do?
Yeah.
Can he make plants fall asleep? Can he make the dirt around him sleepy?
No. So Dirt Nap.
Okay.
Dirt Nap ability. Their ability was to absorb other people into themselves and take on both their memories and powers.
And are they dead?
Yeah. So he had.
Okay.
He had this massive mouth with like a big green tongue, and he'd eat people.
Gross.
So he tried to eat Wolverine once, but it didn't work because Wolverine obviously has his healing factor. So he couldn't be digested. So Wolverine's just inside, stabbing. Dirt Nap almost dies, crawling away. This like tiny, like he's lost all of his power. There's this little fragment of him left, and he eats a rat. And now he looks like a rat. He's gone back to being a supervillain, but now just permanently looks like a rat.
Okay. I mean, cutting things up are the Wolverine way to go. It's really odd. Like the X-Men seems to be quite bright and colourful in many aspects and is quite accessible. And then there's whole spin-off X-Force, which gets all gruesome. I remember there was one time where Wolverine just had to like slice himself up to get rid of like this disease that he'd been infected with, and it was gross, Wilkie. It was not nice.
I can imagine.
Let's go through a couple more. What's another interesting X-Man?
Up next,
X-Men
we have
character.
I Scream. That's EYE-SCREAM. Scream.
Okay, I think Ice Cream has a head which is just a single eyeball, and when he looks at you, you get brain freeze.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. So they look like a Cyclops or like a Beholder from D&D. They got this big magic eye.
Yeah, but they're just one single whole big eyeball, and they give you brain freeze. You know, they make your head all feel all fuzzy, and it doesn't feel good, and you don't have had any of the benefit of having had ice cream.
Well, it's funny you mentioned ice cream, Hambo, because ice cream's power is to turn into ice cream.
You know, I could have guessed that, but I wanted to get weird with it. The fact it was EYE.
Yeah. No, he just turns into your delicious, creamy treat friend, ice cream. There's a panel here. So we have Ice Cream is wearing a fairly standard superhero, tight-fitting bodysuit with a cowl that comes down to his nose, almost looking like Batman, but without the ears. But it's just his torso, as his bottom half is leaking underneath a door. And we can see his there's like a thought bubble above his head that says, "Calm down, Ice Cream. With but a twist of the dial on my unstable molecule chest refrigeration unit, I can melt under any obstacle. Lickety banana split."
Okay, we were looking for things for the show, some kind of motto for the show, and I think the catchphrase "lickety banana split" should be in the running for a catchphrase for Boy Review.
Lickety banana split.
I feel like at that point, it's less so he has powers and more so he's got to like Tony Stark levels of just it's the tech that does a lot of the stuff.
It's his unstable refrigeration unit.
It has to be unstable as well. Why can't he just accept that he wears a fridge at all times? He's good for keeping your beer on hand or something else that you would want to put on a fridge?
Ice cream, potentially.
There's an ice cream in every single hotel room. Selling very expensive chocolate bars, right? Let's go for one more of these.
He can see it. Okay, last up. Okay, I'm gonna give you this person's superhero pseudonym and their real name, but I'm not gonna tell you which one is which. So one of their names is Steve.
Okay.
And one of their names is Ugly John.
Oh, that's so sad. Steve or Ugly John?
One is the real name, one is the superhero pseudonym. The pseudonym, if you will.
I feel like you wouldn't... Unless... I want to find out more about this person, and maybe they're going through something, but I don't feel like someone would willingly and happily choose the name Ugly John as their superhero name. So I'm going to guess that perhaps he had some mean parents that decided when he came out he was just not looking right. And so they're going to name him not just John, but Ugly John. They just looked at their child, their, I assume, son with the names of Steve and John, and they go, "Our son, he's disgusting. He's not John, he's Ugly John." And the doctor just writes down Ugly John Smith. First
name Ugly, last name John.
Yeah.
Well, Hamish, we discussed earlier how your mutation could affect how you look.
Yeah.
For example, Nightcrawler doesn't just have his teleportation abilities, but he has this sort of blue skin and horns and a tail that go with them. Ugly John, I'm afraid, is his superhero name. He has no beneficial mutant powers, but he just has 3 faces on one head.
I mean, that's quite useful. You can then see behind you.
They're all facing the same way.
Oh no! Do you not even... Is this like a Hydra situation? If you cut one off, do 2 more grow back?
There's one here, and then there's one that like borrows the eye from the other, and then one... So he's only got 4 eyes, but 3 mouths and 3 noses. Does that make sense?
If this guy was getting bullied at school, ignoring the fact that he has 3 faces and it's called Ugly John, and he was wearing glasses, would the bully call him 8 eyes?
Potentially.
If you have glasses, you have 4 eyes.
I'm sending you a picture of him, Hamish. We can probably put a picture on our Instagram story on Wednesday.
Let's have a look at Ugly John.
This is Ugly John.
I mean, for a guy with 3 faces, 3 chins, and 4 eyes, he's not looking bad. I was expecting a lot worse for Ugly John.
Yeah.
His hair looks kind of cool.
He just
and I like his jumper.
No powers whatsoever.
I mean, that's fair. I guess that's something that's kind of fun about the X-Men is they do have these characters where you have these big, powerful ones. You know, I've mentioned Iceman. You've got some of the classic ones like Storm, Jean Grey, Wolverine, all that we've mentioned, Cyclops. But then you do have these other people that you're just a person that looks a bit weird. And it does accept some of these sort of realities of, you know, being outcast in this more literal sense, and you can't really do anything about it. It can breed a lot of anger and resentment in some characters. So sometimes these characters can become villains. Sometimes they can go and help out at the manor and the X-Men manor, and it's kind of cool. You know, they're there risking their life even if they don't have anything really helping them.
X-Men is cool, Hambo. There's a lot of X-Men content out there. I feel like if we try to talk about all of it now, we might have to do an extra double-length episode. But if we leave it there, how sort of as an overall thing, unless you've got any final comments?
No, I don't really have anything to comment. I think that the X-Men is fantastic. However, you know, and it does a lot of really good stuff. However, it also led to the X-Men films, and a lot of those aren't great. And it leads to some of these weird characters, and they're mean. Marvel were mean and named a character Ugly John. And I think for that, I can't give them a good. I have to give them, unfortunately, a bad good. Because as much good as there is in X-Men, they did Ugly John wrong. Okay, they did him dirty. Steve was a perfectly fine name. They didn't need to bully him. And also the X-Men films. So it's a bad good. But yeah, check out all the X-Men stuff if you want to. I'm quite enjoying my comic book right now, so I'll post pictures of it again on Instagram. Follow us at Boi Review. Yay,
Hamish knows the name of our Instagram. It's only taken him 8 episodes.
Yeah, I sometimes say at Boy Review Podcast because I forget, because I run the Warthog as well, and that's at the Warthog Podcast. So it gets mixed up in my head.
That's okay.
And now we've got, speaking of superheroes and all the cool costumes that they wear, we got to go into our final topic of the week, and it is, of course, costumes. We're getting into Halloween, the spoopy time of the month, spoopy time of the year.
Halloween hype, week 2, let's go.
And we're, of course, going to be talking about all things Halloween. Costumes, though, don't always have to be Halloween related, you know? Sometimes you can dress up for a whole host of reasons. Maybe it is for Halloween, you want to go trick-or-treating. Maybe it's for a costume party. Maybe it's for other reasons. I don't know, maybe you're in a play.
Maybe you're going to Comic-Con.
Maybe you're going to Comic-Con. Maybe your partner has some interests. I'm not here to judge. So, Wilkie, why
that ain't PG-13.
Do you enjoy dressing up? You know, it is PG-13 because I didn't say what it is. That was the equivalent of in a PG-13 film where the two characters jump in a bed, they start getting all rough and tumble, and then it cuts to the morning, and they're both under the covers.
I don't like this. I'm very uncomfortable with the energy we've created in the studio today.
I'm sorry, I'll turn it down. Wilkie, why do you dress up? If you ever do dress up.
More often, I find myself dressing up for costume parties, or as you mentioned, for plays. I often have to put on a costume to be in the various drama productions I've been in at university. But when we decided we were going to talk about this, the first thing that came to my mind was something that we've actually talked about before, which is when we did our Phineas and Ferb costumes for a what was the theme? Like kids TV or nostalgia or something?
It was something like that. Probably kids TV, because I think that could also tie in with nostalgia. I can't remember, but yeah, it was an interesting theme for a costume party.
But that was really exciting because sometimes especially with Halloween costumes, you have loads of these like off the shelf options. So you go to the supermarket or you go to a sort of stuff shop. I don't know what else to call it. Just a shop that sells things and stuff. And with being at Warwick, we've both been based in and around Leamington Spa at various points of our degree, and there's a shop called Planet Bong. Oh yeah, Planet Bong. You go to Planet Bong and get yourself an off-the-shelf, nondescript witch costume or something. But what was so fun about our Phineas and Ferb costume was that we had to put it together ourselves, and we went sort of charity shop diving to find. I had to find a nice sort of beige button-up shirt for Ferb, and you had to get a shirt that you could paint on for Phineas.
Yeah, because there wasn't an orange in, like, it was like cream. I had to eventually just go with yellow, and I just had to paint yellow stripes on it. I did some quite thick stripes, so it wasn't quite perfect, but I tried to get it as right as I could. And I think it worked out well in the end.
Yeah, and we had to spray dye our hair. Mine green and yours orange. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, it's
we were in one of our friends' bathrooms, and her shower looked very odd.
It's like something from Men in Black had just been, summarily executed.
We just disintegrated it. She didn't remember why we did it. We did then have to wipe her memory. So she just in the morning had orange, green, and I think someone had to do like pink hair as well for Wanda from Fairly Odd Parents. So it was orange, green, and pink just all over her bathroom.
Very strange.
She filled in the gaps. She thought it was perfectly normal.
Yeah, but that's what I found the most. That's one of the most fun. That's the most fun I've had. I think potentially doing a costume. It was really fun, sort of getting together with you and deciding what we we're going to do, and meeting up and being like, "Oh, sick! You got a great shirt like that. That looks just like it." And then like spraying our hair and putting effort into it and turning up and it not looking perfect, but knowing that we'd done it ourselves rather than just going and buying a Hungry Rebel Girl costume. Do you see that Hungry Rebel Girl, which was a sort of off-brand, totally not Katniss from Hunger Games costume, and it came with like a little
Hunger Rebel Girl.
No, not Hunger Rebel. Hungry. She herself is hungry.
Oh, so that just sounds like you could just throw on a leather jacket and an apple.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like
or fake... she hasn't eaten apple because she can't eat it. because she's hungry. Because she can't have an apple, otherwise she wouldn't be hungry. She'd just be lazy. Like, if you're hungry, eat the apple. But if you're hungry and you're not eating it, then that just makes you lazy at that point.
That's very true, Hamish.
It's right there. It's literally in your hand.
You tell her, Hambo.
Go on, hungry rebel girl.
Come on.
Does she have a bow and arrow, or did they give her like dual katanas? It's like, Katniss from Hunger Games. She's not cool enough. She needs katanas. She needs to be like my boy Leonardo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Or Deadpool.
Or Deadpool. Or
hungry rebel Deadpool.
One of I went to go and see one of Izzy's friends over the summer with Izzy. She just moved to a new house with her partner, and he had like a single katana, like a single sword. I thought katanas always had to come in twos, but it was just this sword in his house, and it was kind of cool. It was just there though. It wasn't hung up. It was just leaning against a wall, like a perfectly normal thing.
It's not really a normal thing. I mean, I suppose I had my bokken just hanging out in our living room sometimes, but that was like a wooden training sword. That's a piece of sports equipment, not a at the very least sharp metal object.
It wasn't that sharp. I feel like you'd have to really hit someone with it to do any damage, but it was rather odd. I mean, your bokken was also kind of cool because it's not overly dangerous, and it's a sports equipment, but you can play around with it a bit. Obviously, got to be careful. It could still hurt somebody. But this was just a sword laying up against the wall. But that's the kind of vibe. I bet to be fair to this guy, if you have katanas, they stop being weird and interesting, and just become part of your daily routine. I don't think Deadpool or Leonardo ever come home and look at their katanas and think, oh wow, this is really cool. They just think, oh, this is life. They took on the life of the blade, and now they've become it. But yeah, and also I was thinking about costumes wise. We like last Halloween we did a group costume, and I think there's obviously it's a bit difficult to meet up in groups and do all of that stuff. But there's something really fun about having either it's a partner, or a pair of people, or a bigger group of people where you can go as something as a collective, and it can be a lot of fun. You really you feel like you're not just doing this thing for you. You're there with everyone else in it. You can get away with a slightly worse costume because you've got 4 other people backing you up with also not great costumes, but as a group everyone can be like, that's who they are.
Yeah, it's the feeling of muddling through with your friends is very satisfying. So well, we did the Avengers, I think we were going for the spin shot from 2012, but also I think you might have been Spider-Man.
I was Spider-Man because I can't remember what I had to get. I think I might have been. We assigned people, and then there might have been like last minute. It's like, oh, I don't have anything.
Yeah.
And to get something on Amazon, or maybe everyone. Or there were quite a few of us. So maybe some of us had to go for.
I think we both had Spider-Man onesies and were fighting over the right to play Spider-Man. But I ended up being Thor, and I had a very small toy Thor hammer. And just circles of cardboard sellotaped to a black shirt for his for the circles on his armor, and it looked terrible. But I don't think I would have traded a better Thor costume for like a different night out that night because that was so fun. Like
it was a lot of fun.
Everyone knew who you were because we were all ganged up together. We all had these this. You could tell who we were. Like you were saying, you could tell because we were a group of people. And it was such fun, and I didn't care that I was just carrying circles of cardboard around.
Though I was very self-conscious in that Spider-Man onesie, and I had to wear a pair of shorts, because obviously the Spider-Man suit is skin tight, and this wasn't quite skin tight, but it was still a little too revealing for my liking, and so I had to put on a pair of shorts and some trainers, and no more about that, but that it was quite embarrassing a lot of the night. I felt very self-conscious, but
you go as
fun. I was out with my mates.
Peter B. Parker from Into the Spider-Verse, where he wears the tracksuits.
Oh, I should have done that.
That's
cool.
what I did for circling when we had heroes and villains circling.
That's a good idea. Getting out of the fact that it was a cold Halloween night as well, so any excuse to put on more layers was not a bad one.
Oh yeah, no, I regretted wearing only a t-shirt and trousers. I also wore trousers.
Yeah, but costumes are just only a t-shirt. That's Wilkie commits to his Thor costume.
Yeah, Thor famously doesn't wear anything below the belt.
Have you ever seen Thor? Have you ever seen Thor and trousers in the same room with each other?
I haven't.
No, exactly. So get with the program, people.
Yeah, Point proven. Case closed. Bazinga.
Bazinga indeed. Ah, but costumes are just so much fun. I'm just thinking about all this other cool stuff. It's a shame that we won't be able to really have much of a reason to dress up this year. But there's our other plays will eventually come back, and I'm sure we'll do some sort of dramatics in the future where you can dress up. If you just want to dress up, okay, Wilkie. Actually, here's an idea. I want to do a boy review dress up day. So for Halloween, obviously you can't go out trick or treating, you can't go to parties, but you can be at home. You can do Zoom calls. You can do all this other stuff. I want to promote on Halloween 31st, all day, that entire day, you wear a costume.
And whether that's super low key costume, like you want to dress up as like a character.
A low key costume would be really cool. You get the cool horns.
Yeah, with the horns. Green. Yeah, I saw that coming. But like, if you want to dress up as like a character from a sitcom, so like if you want to, I don't know, characters
Ross from Friends,
or like shows from the like costumes from The Good Place or The Office that are just going to be like regular people clothes, or if you want to dress up as like an Avenger, or I think here in Leamington we're going to try and dress up as our favorite designs from Among Us. We're going to dress up as like
that could be really fun, because I like having the what's it, the wet floor sign on my face, so I could get one of those quite easily, I reckon.
Yeah, I've got to find 2 children for my costume.
maybe 2 not real children.
Yeah, I've got to put one on my head and have one follow me around, and also a suit. I was thinking just like get some like toy like dolls and just spray paint them green. Oh,
that's a really cool idea, Wookie.
So
we could do that for sure. But yeah, on October 31st, it is a Saturday, so you won't have to wear it to work, but just spend the whole day in your costume, hang out with your friends in your costumes, maybe go out to the shops in your costume, just have a jolly good day of it. I might actually get a wet floor sign. I might join in on your Among Us very bit, exciting, and we could all play Among Us together. Speaking of Among Us, they were updating some of the stuff. Like they've added some stuff into the beta. So we talked about this game. We sometimes like jumping back to it. They've added some optional rules to make it harder for people to deduce who the imposters are. So one thing you can now remove is the taskbar. So you can have it appear always, never, or only during meetings. Because one way you can work out if someone's evil is if whether they're up against a task and it goes up or not. So this could make it harder to sort of deduce it that way. They also did some stuff for like colorblind people, because there are some tasks that require you to know colors, like the wiring task. You have to match up one color to another, and if 2 colors look the same to you for whatever reason, then that task becomes impossible for you. So they've now added shapes as well next to them.
Oh, that's nice.
To make that a bit easier. And they did something else that was also going to make it harder for you to deduce things. I can't remember what it is. I read it minutes ago, but it's gone from my head now. Oh wait,
that's fair.
Articles.
No, if you choose to take part in hashtag Boi Review
Halloween,
do take a photo, put it on Instagram or Twitter with the hashtag Boi Review Halloween, and we'll see how many people we can get. Dressing up for Halloween. Got to keep the Halloween spirit alive. Otherwise, Halloween will die. No more Halloween. If we don't keep Halloween alive this year, just won't happen next year. It'll have October 30th. You'll be really excited for Halloween, and then it'll tick over to midnight, and it'll be November the 0th.
Yeah, Halloween will die, and it'll be November 0th, and you'll think this is a new day, but all calendars will have mythically changed to this new date, because Halloween is gone, people, unless we keep it alive. It's like if you stop believing in fairies, they don't exist anymore. People didn't believe in unicorns, and you see how they turned out.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a unicorn? People don't believe in them anymore. Dragons, same thing. All gone.
Yep. Poor Gorwin.
Komodo dragons tried to pretend to be dragons.
Gorwin was around in 1989. People stopped believing in him. People stopped watching through his eye. And
then the dragons are gone now.
He's gone.
So if you want Halloween to go the way of unicorns and dragons, don't take part in Boi Review Halloween. But if you do want Halloween to live on forever, then take part in Boi Review Halloween. And make sure that your friends take part too by sharing this podcast with them so they can hear our important message. Because that is right, people. The show is now over. We get into that bit where we start promoting everything. We've talked about the Instagram plenty today, so no more of that. We'll just go for the show itself. It's been a good one. We hope you liked it. If you have, give us a thumbs up, a 5-star review, a like, a subscribe, or whatever it is you can do on your podcast service of choice. That'll be really awesome. And also what's really helpful is share us with your friends. If you think that the show's good. If you think that Halloween's worth saving, make sure that they hear what we have to say. Send it to them. Your friends, your family, your enemies, anybody and everybody. That guy you just met on the street the other day, if you don't want to talk to them too much, just say, watch Boy Review and run off. If that's the only interaction you have with somebody.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Hamish. If you decide to watch Through the Dragon's Eye, or if you decide to start reading X-Men, or if you try to get someone involved in Boy Review Halloween, tell them that we sent you, and maybe they'll be like, I hated that weird reading show you showed me. I don't want to listen to whatever podcast turned you onto it. But if they like it, maybe they'll like it enough to give our show a listen.
And that's all we have time for this week. Get excited for next week, though, as we should be having a very special guest on. So look forward to that, our first guest of the series. So it's going to be a good one. But until then, it's going to be a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Bye.